Hi, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So this video is kind of a one-off for me. Obviously you saw the title and you clicked on the video, so you're at least somewhat interested in it. If you're usually here for my MLM content, I'll be back with that very shortly. I have a video filmed and ready to go. But today I just kind of wanted to talk about like all the drama that's going on, just because I watch a lot of videos with that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and you just like click the video because you watch my channel or anything, there's been a lot of drama like all last year and then this year as well, involving some YouTubers, like mainly Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, Charles, Tati Westbrook, a couple others thrown in there for good measure, but those are kind of the main ones that we're going to be talking about anyway. And I want to start out this video by saying, if you want like a drama channel video with all the receipts and all the tea, this probably isn't the place for you. I kind of wanted to just mainly react to Shane Dawson's apology that he just put out, and kind of just have like a conversation. I thought that might be kind of fun. If you see me looking down, it's because I have some notes. Wow, that looks like really washed out. I have some notes on my iPad. Oops. If you're looking for a video that has like all the tea and all the receipts, this probably isn't the place for you, and I'm sure there's tons of other videos up that you can go watch instead. I just wanted to say that so I'm not like wasting anyone's time, just because I'm not really going to have a whole lot of the receipts and everything. I mean, maybe a couple screenshots, but that's about it. But yeah, with all that being said, I just kind of wanted to get into it. So a little bit of backstory, and my understanding is that last year Tati Westbrook put out a video that was exposing Charles, basically calling him a predator. There was a lot of allegations made in that video against Charles. Jeffree Star had jumped into that as well, saying that he had like proof about the fact that what Tati was saying was true and all of that. Also, sorry if the lighting in this video changes at all. I'm kind of using mainly like my TV screen as the light, which has the Chromecast up, so the pictures are changing a lot. But yeah, it's just gonna be chill. It's kind of like a movie night when you're like gossiping with your friends. That's kind of what I want this to be, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below as well. And we can definitely have some like open conversation, just because I definitely don't know everything about the situation. I just kind of wanted to make this video for fun, just to kind of try it out. So basically last year, Dramageddon happened, which Tati Westbrook put out a video about Charles, basically calling him a predator. Tons of allegations were thrown into that video. I don't know what's true or what isn't. A lot of it seems like it was proven not true, especially the allegations against James about him being a predator. And Jeffree Star as well came out at that time and had said that there's a reason why him and Nate, who was his boyfriend at the time, didn't allow James back to their house anymore, and that he had proof on his phone, but he has still yet to this day to actually show the proof that he says he has. That could be all made up and fabricated about the proof, or it could be for legal reasons. I don't really know. So again, I don't really know. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but basically that's what's been said. But the proof, although he keeps bringing up that he has it, he's not shown it yet. And then yeah, so that whole thing happened. That was like a huge deal. Really, really hurtful for James as well. Like, he was in a very dark place mentally, that he's come out and said since then, just because of all the hate that he was receiving, and especially because it seems like all the allegations pretty much were proven not true, which is very hard to go through. I mean, it hurt his channel a lot. He's thriving now and doing perfectly well with his channel. He just got a house, which is amazing, but it seemed like it was really bad at that time. So moving on to how Shane Dawson is involved with this. So Shane Dawson did a series on his channel, or actually two series with Jeffree Star in it. And in the most recent series, which is where he put out his conspiracy palette with Jeffree as well, in the trailer for that, and I think in the first video or two, it's been a while now since I watched them, because I watched them when they first came out and like I haven't seen them since then. But he did put clips in it saying that the drama was going to be addressed and that he was going to like expose the beauty community and the tea. And that got a lot of people interested, which many people have said now that he didn't intend to speak on it ever, but that he put that in there to get people watching. And he said that he had decided not to include that drama in there once he realized just how hurtful it was for people. I can see kind of both sides for that. I definitely think that he was going to include it, and then he realized that it was probably better for him and for everyone involved not to include it. But at the same time, if he had decided that, and a lot of people's critique of that have been, if Shane had decided not to include that in the series, that he should have just said it in like the second episode or whenever he made that decision, because he did mention that a lot of it was being edited as time went on. It wasn't like it was all pre-filmed like a year ago when he made the decision. It was all edited and ready to go. They were kind of editing and doing things as it went on, because he was kind of showing the whole progression of like creating, and then the launch of the palette was kind of like the finale of the series as well. So a lot of it was in real time, and he had time to make those types of adjustments, make decisions. So people were saying he could have put in just like a quick editor's note saying he decided not to include the drama. So some people were saying it was more calculated, that he chose not to mention that the drama wasn't going to be in the video just to get people clicking on it to see if he's going to address it or not. So that's a lot of backstory, and there's way more to it as well that I'm just not going to get into just because that's not really the point of the video that I'm making right now. But I wanted to touch on Shane's apology. So not too long ago, less than a week I think, Shane had put out a statement about the beauty community, which if you haven't seen any of that, I'll pop a screenshot up of it right here if I can find it, because he did say he deleted it, but I'm sure other people have it, so hopefully I can find that. Basically, it wasn't an apology, it was him addressing the situation. So it was on the day or the day after that he put out a restock of the Conspiracy collection with Jeffree Star, and people were constantly saying like, when are you going to address it, when are you going to address it, and we'll get into that a little bit more as well. But he put out a statement basically calling the entire beauty community toxic. He said that James Charles deserved to be served a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building, which a lot of people were obviously criticizing that as well, considering that last year when this all happened, James Charles was I think 19 years old and Shane was 30 or 31. So it's a little bit interesting to see an adult come for someone so young. It's just a little bit unnecessary, and I agree with that for sure. Like, it does seem weird that someone who's 30 is going to be so concerned with such a young person that it's like, why do you even care? Like, even if they do need to be served a slice of humble pie, just let it happen without being involved. There was the lighting, sorry. So, and then the other thing with that as well is that there's a big difference between having a super inflated ego and needing someone to like kind of bring you back down to earth a little bit, versus having false allegations set against you and having the entire internet criticize you and critique you for something that isn't true. So again, I didn't really have a side on that, but when I think about it after the fact of when it all happened, I definitely think that it is a little bit interesting for a 30-year-old to be like coming after someone so young. Well, let's move on to kind of my breakdown of Shane Dawson's apology, and hopefully we can have a conversation about it a little bit too, just sort of chill and break it down a little bit. So again, for this part, I apologize if you see me looking down, just looking at my notes. There was a lot in his apology, a lot of different layers, and I didn't want to forget about anything or not touch on anything. But I want to start out by saying first, the beginning half especially of his apology was more surrounding his prior jokes that he used to make in his videos, his podcast, and I think with the movie that he created as well. And a lot of those were like racially charged jokes. Some of them were about like pedophilia. There was a lot there to unpack, especially the racist jokes were a lot of the first part of the apology. So I just want to start out saying that I recognize it's not my apology to accept, and if you're watching this and you're white and you want to go and defend him and say that people should accept his apology, realize that the apology isn't for you, because the jokes that he made were not at your expense. And Shane Dawson in his video even admitted that despite him not seeing anything wrong with his jokes back then, that the fact that he put them online for a big platform is part of the problem of normalizing that type of behavior, and he was part of the problem especially then with normalizing those type of jokes, which he definitely thinks was wrong of him to be a part of back then. But I just think it's important to recognize that it's not my apology to accept. If you're white, it's not your apology to accept either. You don't have to accept the apology, but especially if you're looking at other people saying that they should accept the apology, take a step back and realize that it's not for you to decide what anyone chooses to accept or not, and try to keep an open mind if you are feeling like you want to react to someone saying that they don't accept his apology, because you don't have to. And ultimately it doesn't matter what I think, especially of like the racist jokes and everything like that, just because, I mean, first of all, I think they're totally insensitive and should never have happened, especially in front of an audience. But ultimately it doesn't even matter what I think, whether I agree with it or not. So to start out, he had said that back when he was making those types of videos, that he really hated himself and he hates looking back at the person he was when he made those videos. And he also did mention quite a few like problems he had back then, just with being like depressed and dealing with different things, having his own issues and his own like dark inside issues to deal with. And I do feel like he might have said a little bit too much, in my opinion, in the beginning about the issues that he was going through, which almost kind of plays the victim a little bit and takes away from the apology. But I do think that what he was saying there was kind of like relevant to what he was saying, so I'm not going to be too upset about that personally. But I did see like in the comments, I scrolled through a little bit and some people were saying like, he's kind of playing the victim, and I think I could see that especially in the beginning of the video. So I feel like what he was saying and how he was feeling at that time was relevant to what he was making. But yeah, I agree that for the sake of the apology and the fact that those videos have already been put out, it's better not to address what's going on with you when you're apologizing for something that you've done, and rather like recognizing the hurt that you caused someone else, which he definitely did, I think, a decent job of that after the fact. So after that, he definitely admitted his part in kind of increasing the acceptance of like racial stereotypes, blackface, those type of jokes, which were the type of content that he was making at the time. And he also said as well that he doesn't expect anyone to accept his apology, and that he recognizes now, especially as he gets older, that he used to get pretty defensive if people didn't accept his apology, but now he understands that he can say sorry all he wants, but ultimately if someone's been hurt by what he does, he can't force them to accept it. And I do think that's good of him to admit and to recognize, at least, just because it's absolutely true. You can't force someone to accept your apology. All you can do is say you're sorry and do better from that point forward, but if they don't accept it, then you have to let them have those feelings. So he admitted that at the time when he would be making videos like that, such as playing a character and he would be putting on like blackface, say to be Wendy Williams or something like that, he admits that at that time he didn't even realize like the depth of what blackface really means until he educated himself, which wasn't for a couple years later. Again, I think that's totally a fault, because if someone at that time had said, oh, this isn't good, or not the best joke, or a little bit insensitive, you should definitely like research before you post something online. And then the other thing was he addressed his podcast, where recently there's been a video or a clip taken from that circulating around about, it was an episode about murder fantasies, and he was talking in gruesome detail about how he would like to harm someone, and it was a specific person that he had in mind, and a lot of people thought that that was about a content creator by the name of Francesca Lee, who had previously tried to make him aware of his behaviors and of like the jokes he was making online not being appropriate. She'd constantly been bringing it to his attention that maybe it wasn't the best and trying to educate him. And he admits that he was always very negative towards her doing that, and that he did always tend to get defensive and not really take her opinion into account at all. So a lot of people thought that that clip from the podcast where he was talking about his murder fantasy was about her, when he says that he swears it wasn't. Again, there's no way to prove it, but he did say who it was about, and it was at the time about a white woman who had worked on his movie with him, who was constantly, again, telling him that maybe his jokes weren't appropriate, and he felt very angry towards her. And he said that it made him want to make the jokes even more like edgy, even more shocking. And he has come out and said in his video just now that he posted that it was about this woman that he worked with on the set of his movie, which he also admits was completely wrong to say those things. He did apologize for it. Who knows if she's even going to see it, if she still watches his videos or anything like that, but he did apologize and admit that that was wrong, and that it wasn't about Francesca Lee, but he did say who it was about. The next part that he kind of addressed was some jokes that had surfaced, like I think last year or the year before, that came out again just recently in light of everything that's been going on, which were jokes that he made that kind of insinuated like pedophilia, or that he thought that that was a joke and funny. And now what he says, and if you listen to the full clip of the podcast, there are parts where he's saying that it's like pedophilia is disgusting, that it's not allowed, that it shouldn't be okay, no one should justify it. But a lot of people had made compilations of the jokes that he would make after saying these things, and they took out him saying that it was disgusting, which I agree that does make it look worse. But at the same time, if you know something is so disgusting and wrong, and then you turn around and joke about it a minute later, it kind of takes away what you said before. So ultimately, he shouldn't have put it out there as well if he didn't want people to take it out of context, because really anytime you put anything online, you always have to admit, especially if you have a large audience, that what you say is constantly going to be looked at under a microscope. It's always going to be taken out of context, and if you're not okay with that, then you shouldn't be putting it out there. And that's part of the responsibility when you post online, especially to a large audience. And as well, he apologized for those in the past, which he did touch on, and re-apologized for those same jokes about the pedophilia and everything like that. And he admitted that it's not real at all, that's not really who he is, and that it's all for shock value, a character, kind of touch on things that he's spoken on previously. And then the next part, I think as well, are where people felt like he might have been playing the victim a little bit, which I, again, somewhat agree with. So when he was talking about that and all the jokes he used to make, he was talking as well about how he had a lot of hurt from his childhood, his family life, and just like growing up, he never had it easy, and he had a lot of like trauma stick with him through that. And the way that he dealt with it was by joking about things that either were like triggering or kind of touched him in some way, or that's just how he coped with it, was by joking about it. So he says that he directed pain from his past into the jokes that he made. I want you to let me know what you guys think down below of that. Like, do you think that he was playing the victim there, or do you think it was just kind of part of the story that he kind of has to say in order to explain? I can kind of see both. So I think that in a way, in order to explain what your thought process was while you're apologizing, you do kind of have to explain what played into it. But at the same time, I do feel like what he said in the past was what he said, and I don't think that a lot of people, especially people who were most impacted by the jokes and comments he made, I don't think they really care what happened in his past. I think they just want to know that he's sorry, that he'll change, or what he's going to do to change, rather than focusing on why he said them in the first place. Because ultimately, when you hurt someone with your words, it doesn't really matter why you said them. The point of the matter is that you did hurt someone. Let me know what you think down below if you watched his video, or like any recaps of it, if you thought he was kind of trying to play the victim and try to take some of the blame off of himself in a way, or if you think he was being genuine with that. And then the next part, he admits that he did feel like he was allowed to say the jokes that he's been saying, because of course, I mean, first of all, as a white man in the industry, he's pretty much favored above everyone else, like in terms of what he can get away with. Shane has said that he felt like he was allowed to say these things, or even, I guess there was some videos, I haven't seen them myself, but he mentioned it in his video, that there was a video of him speaking to like his very young cousin about the birds and the bees talk, and I guess he posted it to his channel, or it was something along those lines anyhow. That's what he had said. And obviously people didn't think it was appropriate, and especially looking back now, it seemed even more inappropriate. And he had said in his apology video, or addressing the situation video, that he had spoken to his family and admitted that it seemed inappropriate, and he apologized, and that they said it was all good, and that that's just how his family is, or that's how they were, and they thought it was funny at the time too. So he felt even more so like he didn't have to apologize, because if they said it was all good, then whatever. And he's mentioned that he realizes now that obviously there's other people that are impacted that, and that when he put it out online, that it's not just between him and his family anymore. And so even if his family said that it was fine or whatever, that he still has to own up to it and apologize. And that was kind of the last of like addressing those parts in Shane's video. So he says that he is changed, and that even then though, when he was saying those things, especially with like the racially charged comments and things like that he never actually meant them to be hateful, and that they were all in like a joking context, and that he had never said any racist remarks in an angry way, that they were always jokes, which obviously he recognizes now from what he's saying, that they aren't jokes and that it's not funny, but as well that he never meant them in a hateful way even back then, and now he understands how they came across that way, but that wasn't his intention even back then, if that makes sense. And again, like, that's totally up to you what you think of that, like if you think people can say these things as a joke and then change, or if it's kind of always at the core of who they are. And as well, I wanted to touch on, which I kind of forgot to mention when I was talking about how it seemed weird that he was 30 and kind of antagonizing James Charles in his addressing post. He did mention in the beginning of his video, like he admitted that he is an adult, and as a grown person, even when he was saying these things, he was an adult, like when he was making his racist comments and stuff, and he at least owned up to that too, which I think was really good, because that was something that a lot of people were kind of picking on. It sounds bad to say that, because then again it sounds like he's the victim, but it's something that people were critiquing, I guess, is that he was like a 20-year-old when he said those 10 years ago, and then he's now 30, 31, or 32, something like that. And the fact that he was saying comments like that, still not addressing it, saying comments about James Charles, who was only 19 when he was 30, and making these comments. So I'm glad that he did address that part of it for sure. The end of like the first half of his video, or I guess it was more than half of the video, but like the first section of his video was just him saying that he wants to keep doing what he loves, he wants to keep educating himself, and as well that he says that he's gotten critique recently and as well in the past about how his channel is primarily just like white people complaining, or all of his series are with white people and stuff like that. And he said that he used to get like defensive of that because it wasn't a purposeful thing, but it just happened to be how it was. But that now he does recognize that people are absolutely right about that. And he does want to change it, and he said that he is a changed person, and he doesn't want to keep putting out like drama and things that continue to spread hate. And he does see the problem with him only posting like white creators now as well, which is good as long as that's truthful and that he actually means it. I think that's good. But if he's just saying that because it's what he thinks that he needs to say, then I don't know, we'll see in the long run, I guess. Now the second section, which was the smaller part of his video, was regarding the James and Tati drama. So we're kind of going to talk a little bit about that again. Sorry again if you see me looking over, I'm just still looking at my notes to make sure I don't forget anything. But he said in his recent video about addressing everything, that he wasn't initially going to address like the James and Tati thing in it, but that it just made sense to put it together. So he touched on his comment that he put out to the beauty community first. So that post that he made commenting on the situation that I had up just a little bit ago, he said that he initially wasn't going to put anything out about it, but that people kept saying that he had masterminded the whole James and Tati drama and that he was like behind orchestrating the whole thing, which he says was absolutely not true, and that he wasn't going to address it when he did, and he wasn't going to make that post when he did. But what happened was, according to him, they had the restock or whatever for the conspiracy stuff, and he felt like he couldn't even enjoy it because any post that he made or any post that he was tagged in was all just comments saying, when are you going to address it, when are you going to address it. So he just put out that post that he put out. And then he said as well with his post regarding the beauty community that he had initially made that post to be like funny, and it wasn't meant to come across as angry as it did, which he recognizes now obviously that it does come across very hateful and very angry. I don't know how he really meant it as a joke though. Like, I don't know why he thought that putting out a post calling the entire beauty community toxic, even though there's tons of smaller creators that aren't toxic at all, that deserve the spotlight and don't really get it. Like, it's not the whole community that's toxic. Like, there are people, and you can choose what you involve yourself with and who you associate with. But anyways, he says that he didn't mean it to be angry, and that it was meant as more of like a joke, or I guess maybe more of at least like sarcasm. I wouldn't say a joke, but he probably meant like sarcasm anyway, which he said he did regret putting it out, especially the part where he said that James deserved a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building. So he did say that he apologized to James, and he apologized in his video to James in case James watches that video, and he said that it was totally inappropriate and that he shouldn't have said that, especially being like a 30-year-old adult, that should have never been part of his post. Let me know what you think about this, but to me, I feel like it was a little bit downplayed. Like, the humble pie thing kind of ignores the entire fact that he knew that these allegations were going to go out about James, and whether he knew they were false or not. I mean, if you're going to kind of like back what someone is saying and try to profit on it by saying you're going to put it in your series and everything, like back what Tati was saying in that circumstance, I think he should have admitted more clearly that he realizes now that it wasn't true, like just to really clear the air, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that watch Shane Dawson's videos that don't watch James, or that didn't watch Tati and didn't really see all of that and just started seeing it because of what he's posted. So I think to not address that and really say that he was completely wrong about it is a little bit irresponsible, I guess. Like, it's great to apologize, but at the same time, I think you have to own up to more than just saying sorry for saying you deserved a humble pie, and realize that like those allegations that they made were a lot more serious than that. And then he recognizes well actually how it was very hypocritical of him to say that James needed to be humbled after he's had all of these like bad videos that he's put out over the course of his time on YouTube and on the internet. Another part that people wanted him to address that he sort of talked about a little bit in the video was him saying that he's leaving the beauty world. People were upset about that because they said that he was never really in it. He said he watches tons of beauty gurus, so that's kind of why he said that more, and that he still does. And he even said himself that his homepage on YouTube is all beauty gurus, including small ones who aren't toxic at all and didn't deserve to be kind of lumped together. But again, I find that really interesting because if he watches so many smaller, untoxic, unproblematic beauty gurus, that I find it really interesting that he would put out a post saying that the whole beauty community is toxic. If he watches so many smaller creators who aren't toxic, you wouldn't think that that would even enter his mind, or that he would say that specific people are toxic but not the community as a whole. And I also think it's interesting, and I still think that he didn't really address another part of why people were upset about him leaving the beauty world. So yes, people were upset at him for calling it toxic, but also I think people were hoping for him to address a little bit more. I know I was hoping to see a little bit more about why he never really posted any makeup videos. I mean, a lot of people had an issue with the fact that he put out this palette and really advertised his palette with Jeffree Star, and then he made a whole second channel that was going to be like makeup and just kind of goofing around, which he did say it was going to be other stuff too. But the fact that in like over a year he hadn't put out one single tutorial with his palette, a lot of people were upset about, and he didn't touch on that at all. So I think that a lot of people still feel like it might have been a bit of a cash grab for him and Jeffree. I don't really know what I think about that. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, just because yeah, I think it would have made more sense. Like, I do think it's kind of weird that he hasn't posted any makeup videos at all, but at the same time, I know that he has spoken a lot about being like super self-conscious, and about how even like recently, I know in like some of his videos, Morgan's videos and Ryland's videos, I think he has said stuff about how like he'll go on TikTok and then his whole For You page is just people making fun of how he looks and stuff. So I can understand not wanting to put out a video doing makeup or something you feel like you're not the best at yet, and then just having it completely ripped to shreds, especially as someone who is insecure. Like, I definitely deal with my own insecurities a lot, so I can understand being afraid to put something like that out there, especially to such a big audience. Like, I feel weird even making videos still, and I have a way smaller audience. I'm not near 20 million subscribers, and I can't even like think about that many people watching me. It's very strange to think about something like that. So while I agree with people wanting him to address that more, and I kind of wish he at least touched on it, I can also kind of put myself into his shoes in a way to think that if I maybe didn't feel like I was the best, I mean, he did only start doing makeup like a year and a half ago, or like a little bit before the whole Jeffree palette thing. And then he said that it was dumb and hypocritical to act like he was like above it all when he was really kind of like in the middle of the drama too. Again, he says that he didn't orchestrate the drama between James and Tati, but that he knew about it. And then the next part he addressed, I think, was a little bit vague. So he was talking about how he's friends with people online who do some like shady stuff, or who like say some inappropriate things. And basically what he said about that, now this could be about a couple different people really, and I think it does apply to quite a few of his friends, but he said that he holds his friends to a lower standard than he does most people. So while he understands that it was hypocritical of him to act above it all when, I mean, he's friends with some people who are definitely right in the middle of drama. I mean, Jeffree Star, for one, is pretty much involved in like a lot of the beauty channel drama. And then he's friends with Trisha Paytas too, who has a ton of drama videos made about her for various things, like coming out as transgender and then coming out as gay, and then saying that she has dissociative identity disorder, and being very insensitive about all of it. So I think that what he meant by that, and kind of what he explained of that, is that he feels for people, and he always kind of latches on to other hurt people or people with their own struggles, and he kind of has like more of a soft spot for them. So while he might hold the outside world who's not close to him to a pretty high standard, with the people that's close to him, he definitely lets them have like a hall pass. Now that I really relate to as well, because I'm very opinionated and I'm very like strong in my opinions, but at the same time, if someone I love is like upset or hurting or anything, I definitely feel for them. Okay, sorry for the slight change in scenery there. So he was saying that he holds his friends to a lower standard, and that he really gets attached to hurt people and like wants to try to fix them. So I kind of relate to that. Let me know if you do too, because I feel like that is a pretty common trait, especially for a lot of people who are like a little bit more emotional. Which in general, like I would say, I've liked Shane Dawson for quite some time. I'm trying to be unbiased, obviously, and really look at the facts. But also, like I will say, I've noticed from his videos that he does seem very emotional. He does always want to try to like fix people. Like when he did that YouTube video with Graveyard Girl, he was trying to like fix her channel and revive her confidence in herself a little bit. And then he did a video about like Tana after TanaCon, which like, it seems like he's always kind of involved with people who are just like a whole mess. And he does always want to try to fix them and want to be that support for them. And he always seems attached to them despite them always messing up or doing the wrong thing, like with Trisha or Tana or those type of people. And then the next part that kind of stuck out to me is that he said that he is friends with a lot of people who like do or say bad things on the internet, and then he does not condone or co-sign it at all. So he's basically kind of distancing himself from it and saying like, yeah, he's friends with them, but he doesn't condone or agree with their behavior at all, which I think is fair also. Again, I mean, it is kind of up to him to hold his friends to that standard and help them as well and say, look, you can't be posting this stuff. You can't be doing this to people. You can't be saying these things. And there's a couple people that come to my mind. I mean, the main ones are Trisha and, of course, Jeffree Star. When he said that, the other thing, though, that he said is that he did say he has addressed it privately. So again, when people say that they address things privately, it's kind of like up to you whether or not you believe that they have. But also at the same time, being someone who's an adult, you know, if he's 31 and he wants to address things off the internet, I feel like that's appropriate. I feel like a lot of the time there are like influencers, YouTubers, whatever, who kind of air out their dirty laundry online, and people are always saying, oh, you know, this could have been in the DMs, this could have been kept private. You have each other's number, so why blow it up online, which I feel is very true. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. Whether or not he's actually talked to them about it, it's hard to say. But I also think that being an adult or having adult friends, they can kind of address that privately. But I guess the flip side of that as well is if he says he doesn't co-sign or doesn't condone their behavior, it is up to him to recognize that he can either say something about it, do something about it, or at least cut himself off from it a little bit. But I find a lot of the time he almost acts like it's not happening at all. Like, I know right after Trisha had made a few videos claiming she had dissociative identity disorder and being super insensitive about that, Shane, oh my god, the lighting is like super pink from the Chromecast, I'm so sorry. But Shane and Ryland were like over at Trisha's house celebrating her birthday and posting it online. So again, continuing to grow and give her a platform. So it's one thing to still be friends with someone despite them doing some shitty things, but to publicly basically endorse them in a way, it is a little bit like against what he was saying there. So I don't know, again, I can see both sides, so I'd love to know what you think about that as well. And then the final thing that he said in his video was that mainly that he was sorry and that he gets it if people don't forgive him, but that he wants to continue to do what he loves, and he promised that the next things that he puts out, whatever it may be, that he is not going to be a part of this drama and spreading hate any longer, and that he was promising that. So that's kind of like a recap of everything that he said. So I guess I just have a couple final thoughts that I hadn't really touched on. In general, I actually thought that his video was pretty good. I'm gonna quickly check out and see like how it's doing right now. When I first looked at it, there definitely was more likes than dislikes. I think the likes were around like 12,000 and dislike was only 1,000, I think. So right now the video has a little over 450,000 views, and it's at 201,000 likes and 21,000 dislikes. So overall, it seems like people are pretty receptive to it. They are liking the apology. So a lot of people are kind of being like, you know, where's Jeffree and all this? Why isn't he saying anything? When is he going to say something? I'm kind of curious to see if he is going to say something now that Shane has. Just where for the past like year or two, they've been in such close connection with one another. So I'm kind of curious about that. And the last thing as well is that people were commenting saying that he was making excuses. So I want to know down below what you think of that, because again, like I said, I don't know the most about all of the drama and all of the backstory, but I'm really curious to see what you think, or if you think Jeffree's gonna say anything. I don't really know what to think about that, or if he does, I think it will be pretty calculated. And then as well, let me know if you think that Shane was making excuses with it. Again, I don't really feel like he did a whole lot. When I watched the video, it definitely didn't stick out a lot to me. There was times where he kind of mentioned it, but I do think as well it's human nature to want to explain yourself, not just apologize. Like, I know if I did something to hurt someone, but at the time I felt like I was justified, I probably would explain it to them as well, just because like we're humans, we want to tell our side, which I think is pretty normal. And I don't think he overdid that. I do think he was pretty accountable. He did say a lot about what he did was wrong. So that's all my thoughts about it. Let me know what you think down below. As well, I'm just gonna quickly pop my Instagram up on the screen here if you want to give that a follow. Feel free to hit that subscribe. Let me know as well if you want to see more videos like this, just because this is kind of a first for me. And like I said, kind of a one-off, but if people are really loving it, I might do, oh my god. So again, like I said, this is kind of a one-off video, but let me know down below if you would want to see more videos like this, like tea or drama videos, or even like commentary about it, because this is one of the type of videos that I love to watch. I usually make like MLM videos. I've done a couple fashion videos and stuff, so kind of all over the place right now, just figuring it out and kind of seeing what I like to do. But yeah, let me know if you would want to see another video like this down below. And with all that being said, hopefully we can have a conversation. Thank you so much for watching if you made it through this video. And definitely go ahead and leave me a like and subscribe if you want to see more from me. All right, bye.